How's it going, everyone? It's me, Vivi, and welcome back to another Sly Cooper video. Yes, we are back to Clockwerk. Like I've said, Clockwerk is my #1 favorite villain in the entire series. How he thinks, what he's done, his hatred, how he was jealous of the Coopers. Even with the lack of backstory, he still managed to be my #1 favorite. That's how much I like this villain. Now, reading your comments, you guys seem to like these Clockwerk videos. I mean, hey, you gotta be honest here, there's so many questions about this character in particular. I guess that explains the number of videos I've made. But anyways, with that being said, what is the question for this video? What pages? Yes, I'm assuming he took multiple pages just like the other members. What pages did Clockwerk take from the Thievius Raccoonus during the night of the attack? You've played Sly 1. Sly mentions all of the members and the pages they took respectively. However, there was no mention of the pages which Clockwerk stole, and many have been bringing this up in the comments like, dude, Sly mentioned all of the members taking pages with one ancestor in particular, but what about Clockwerk? Sly hasn't said anything about that. Which pages did he take? The answer is we never knew. You see stuff like this, sometimes I wonder, Sucker Punch did it intentionally, to leave fans to speculate. I mean, come on, you mentioned all of the other members and the pages they took, but as for Clockwerk, you can't just ignore the final pages. He's like the big boss in Sly 1. And yes, each member did take multiple pages judging by the scene in the beginning. Now, if you think carefully, if they took multiple pages, technically, wouldn't they have more than one page with ancestors in them? I mean, there's a bunch of major and minor ancestors inside the book. I guess for the sake of plot convenience, each member went away with one page, which mentioned the ancestor in particular. Each member managed to get away with one page containing a specific move. Sir Raleigh went with a page containing Ryorichi, Mugshot, Tennessee, Miss Ruby, Slighton Common, and the Panda King, Otto Van Cooper. In the 20th anniversary article, Sucker Punch said that they changed the order of worlds, to adjust the difficulty. Panda King was originally supposed to be first, that was too hard, they switched the order around, and he became number 4. If he was number 1, he would have matched with Ryorichi's set of skills. Ninja, Kung Fu, all that kind of stuff. Or Flame Fu. Okay, if Sir Raleigh was number 4, he would have gotten part of the Thievius Raccoonus containing information on Otto Van Cooper, matching with his machinist skills. Someone actually brought this up in the comments. If this is true, then Sucker Punch had to re-record the lines. Technically speaking, the voice actors had to re-record. For example, Sir Raleigh, Episode 1, Sly states the section which he stole, containing Ryorichi. That's his dialogue. If it were the Panda King in Episode 1, then the line would have been different. Why am I bringing this up? Because Sucker Punch had mentioned that the game was close to shipping when they realized that Panda King at number 1 was way too hard. Anyhow, let's go back to the introduction. We don't know how long Sly was hiding inside the closet when he was 8 years old, during the night of the attack. Looking back at this scene, his parents got killed first, and then they got into the safe. Technically, Raleigh got the book first. Sly was scared, he was just a young child, he stayed in the closet, and that gave enough time for the Fiendish Five to properly split the book among themselves. Clockwerk simply hired these criminals, nothing else to say. And why? I mean, what did they do with the pages? Even if the order of the worlds was changed, to me it seems like the pages weren't going to be useful to these members. They just took them. They were ordered to. They were told to take away those pages to show that Coopers are nothing. Let's look at the attack in a different sort of way. Perhaps Clockwerk's initial idea was to destroy the book completely, but hey, later on, the Fiendish Five thought, hey, we came all this way to barge into someone's home and take away the lives of a child's parents. I think we deserve something in return, something extra. What is this Rakamagookus we have here? I've heard of this book. You see the scenario I'm going with? Sure, they didn't use the pages, but maybe they thought, hey, in the future these pages might be worth a lot. I mean, they've been part part of this Cooper legacy. Now, we're not too certain when Clockwerk discovered the Thievius Raccoonus. Maybe it had something to do with Dr. M, how he betrayed Connor, you never know. Once Clockwerk realized of this Thievius Raccoonus, his initial reaction was, I'm gonna burn the book. But then he thought, wait a minute, there's a reason why some of the Coopers were so skilled. Perhaps I can find the answer within that book. Answers on ancestors in particular. Keyword particular. Clockwerk told each of the members, hey, okay, go away with pages, whatever you think they're valuable or something like that. I don't care. I just want to take the pages I need. And while Sly was in the closet, they had enough time, like I said, to split the book. But Vivi, wait a minute. Clockwerk is immortal. Well, until Sly won. He flew everywhere. Saw a bunch of things. You're telling me he discovered the Thievius Raccoonus in 2002. Hey, look at it this way. Connor Cooper was able to keep the secret, the Cooper Vault. Perhaps the Coopers were simply that good at keeping a secret. Okay, I guess you could argue maybe Clockwerk, since he has wings and flies everywhere country to country, he probably did see the Cooper Vault. And a theory I made in the past, he made a deal with Dr. M. Clockwerk would reveal to Dr. M the location of this Cooper Vault, where there's a bunch of valuables, in exchange of revealing the location of the Thievius Raccoonus. Dr. M used to be partners with Connor. We don't really know what made them split apart, but seeing how cold-hearted he was in Sly 3, trying to kill Sly, I could imagine him making such a dark sort of trade with him. Anyways, back to the point. Clockwerk looked almighty, right? Perhaps deep down he was scared or simply curious. I know, Clockwerk being scared, I know it sounds funny, but you never know. We don't really know his background, and that's something I'd like to know more about. Remember when he said, Cooper's always found a way to beat me, when Sly was facing him. So what I'm thinking right now is, Clockwerk ran away, well, technically he flew away with the pages that mentioned him at least, to discover their secrets, how they were always multiple steps ahead of him. Clockwerk says he wants to be the best villain known alive. I'm not too sure I buy that. I mean, you've been living for centuries. I think having that gift, let's say, is pretty huge. So the Fiendish Five, they ran away with pages containing Tennessee, Slayton Common, Riorici, and Autovan. What about the others? I'm thinking, since they ripped out the whole page, looking at this scene, Clockwerk flew away with the remaining ancestors. The pages containing the ancestors. Why did he do that? Because those ancestors, in particular, were either the strongest or the wisest. Always there before him. Cooper's found a way to beat him. Okay, but until a certain point. I mean, come on now. They all turned old eventually. Clockwerk, seeing his cold nature, he striked once they retired. And this rule I came up with, Clockwerk striked the parents after the kids were born, as a way of fueling hate. Always having this constant reminder that a Cooper is out there. Without a Cooper running in the streets, how would Clockwerk survive? If his hate chip is powered by both science and dark magic, perhaps the dark magic part required him to have true feelings. You can't fake hate if it's dark magic we're talking about. So if the Coopers were no more, how would he have survived? Hating the Coopers, that's what made him decide that fate, to turn robotic and live for centuries. That's the true source of hate, the Coopers. And one day I hope this gets explained. Anyhow, talking about the pages Clockwerk stole, I'm thinking they contain information on the ancestors, which were very hard to get rid of. The ones were very troublesome. Those are the ancestors he was interested in knowing information on. We do know one thing. Henriette Cooper, she saw Clockwerk, and this was explained in the official guide of the collection, if I'm not mistaken. There is a pretty good summary on the wiki page. I'm gonna read it for you guys. At some point in her life, Henriette met Clockwerk. He flew near her ship and used the hypnotic abilities of his eyes to transfix her entire crew. Henriette, however, was not affected, and speculated that it was due to her missing eye that he could not hypnotize her. I guess having one eye, it makes sense why she wasn't hypnotized. Even if she wasn't hypnotized, perhaps she was hard to get rid of, and Clockwerk wanted to know why. Since he found out about this Thievius Raccoonus, he thought of taking the pages which contain contained information on Henriette, thinking like it's their diary. That's pretty much the purpose of the book, writing down all of their activities, experiences, and all that kind of stuff. Now what about the others? For example, Sir Galeth, Thaddeus, Slay McCooper. These ancestors, I do not think, interested Clockwerk in terms of abilities, but to see what they wrote about him, to see how they thought in the past. Sir Galeth, for example, notice those owl-looking things in the sky? Those could be the same robotic owl minions we saw at the volcano in Russia in Sly 1. Why were those owls there? To keep an eye, of course. But why? Because Sir Galeth was probably able to get rid of Clockwerk on and on again. So he thought, how was he so smart? Did he write this down in the book? Okay, looking at Sly 4, perhaps smart is not the right term to use, but despite the wrong decisions he made in Sly 4 sometimes, he was still able to get rid of Clockwerk time and time again. Clockwerk wanted to know why he was always a few steps ahead of him. He wasn't interested in how he stole. And remember, Sir Galeth eventually formed the Knights of the Cooper Order. So, quick summary. Clockwerk waited for the kids to be born, and then striked. Now some of these ancestors were killed easily, but as for the others which were featured in the pages that Clockwerk stole, they were harder to get rid of, and Clockwerk wanted to know why. That explains why he ran away with the remaining pages. Now what about the pages containing his parts? Clockwerk was indeed mentioned in the book. For example, his eyes in Sly 2. Their function was explained in the book. I always believed that Clockwerk perhaps had a loved one, and the pages which he stole, they contained stories which made Clockwerk jealous. Well, he was always jealous, but maybe, you know, he's been stalking. We don't know what's exactly written inside the book, but I'm pretty sure the Coopers mentioned their loved ones. Clockwerk had one, perhaps something happened, we're not too sure, but he was jealous. He wanted to know what happiness was. It didn't last because he took their lives away eventually, but he wanted to know information on something he was never able to experience. You see all these types of questions? They can make such an incredible story. There's simply a lot of potential. I might be overanalyzing for nothing, but this is what I do, and I think most of you are used to it by now. But seriously, the pages he stole, something in particular caught his interest. There's just something about those ancestors that annoyed him. He's lived for hundreds of years. He's seen everything. Certain characters were just more important to him for some reason. Think of this. Clockwerk's been filled with hatred for hundreds of years. Maybe a small part of him wants to experience a lighter side? I mean, he's been surrounded by darkness all his life, always having the urge to kill and kill anyone who stands in his way. Maybe a small part of him misses happiness, what it was like to live before being immortal, his regular life, without hatred. And maybe the pages he stole, maybe they contain stories of what it's like to be happy. Like I said, he's been keeping an eye. Maybe those ancestors in particular had that sort of experience, and he just wanted to know what it felt like by reading. Now I know what some of you are gonna say right now. Dude, he just wanted to be known as the greatest thief alive. He took out the pages because he wanted to learn their skills. Okay, if so, why didn't he steal the book completely? He didn't care. He stole pages which contained some information that he wanted to know. I would love to dive deeper into this, but I'm gonna leave it at that. So with that being said, I hope you enjoyed this video. So my question for you guys is, if you agree with this theory, why do you think he went away with those particular pages? What was he looking for? Was he curious? The Thievius Raccoonus, at this point, we can all agree it's like a diary. Everything's written in that book. What he saw, relationships, love. Maybe some of those ancestors had that for a while and he wanted to know more, how it felt like, right? Anyways, I'm gonna shut up now. So yeah, I've been Vivi and thank you so much for watching.